Chevin Country Park Hotel on Otley, Chevin, otherwise known as the Chevin. The Chevin is a ridge of rock which overlooks the market town of Otley. The Chevin is mostly covered with woodland and heathland, and an old Roman road ran along the top, joining York with Tadcaster and Ilkley. Now, Otley has been around for an awful long time. The Parish Church in Otley dates back to the 7th century, but there's evidence of settlement going way back before to the Bronze Age. Let's go and take a look. Up here on the Chevin, you'll find Notty's stone, which shows concentric circles with a cup in the middle. And that was probably used as a marker for directions, or possibly a place to light beacons. And that would have been carved between 2,500 and 5,000 years ago. Otley sits at the foot of the Chevin, and it grew through cattle markets and later through textiles and printing. But Otley's most famous son was a cabinet maker. We'll pick up the story in the town's marketplace. Marketplace in the centre of Otley. And this is Thomas Chippendale, who was born here in 1718 and who became a cabinet maker in London.
Examples of his furniture can be seen nearby in Nostell Priory, Harewood House, Newby Hall and Temple Newsome. But the most interesting thing about Chippendale's furniture is that copies of it are still produced today all around the world. He is probably the most famous designer of traditional furniture of all time.
Chippendale attended Prince Henry's Grammar School here in Otley. The school used to be based in this building behind me. It has since moved away, and this is now a pub. Now, Prince Henry's Grammar School was established under a royal charter from King James I in 1607, and it was named after his son, Henry Frederick Stuart, the Prince of Wales. The charter dictates the name of the school, so it's still called a grammar school, even though it's now a comprehensive. Otley was a key centre for the woolen industry, beginning initially as a cottage industry and then with mills built, initially powered by water and then later by steam. But it was printing where Otley really made its mark.
The Wharfedale printing machine was invented in Otley in 1856 and was the single biggest step forward in printing since Gutenberg printed the Bible on a wooden press in Germany more than 400 years earlier. The Wharfedale could make up to 1,500 prints per hour, completely revolutionising the printing industry. These printing machines were exported all over the world. By 1900, more than 2,000 people were employed in 7 factories, making this Otley's most important industry.
For a town of its size, Otley has a remarkable number of pubs. There were 30, giving it the title most pubs per head of population. There are 20 open now, mostly serving real ale, so certainly there are the most hand-pulled beer pumps per capita anywhere in the world. And the reason there are so many pubs is because Otley is a market town. Pubs were allowed to open all day on market day, whereas elsewhere they would be required to close. Now this one, the Black Bull, played a part in the Battle of Marston Moor in 1644. Cromwell's troops camped here on the night before battle, and it said they drank this pub dry before their victory over the Royalists.
Some of the pubs are former coaching inns, like the Black Horse Hotel, which still serves as a hotel today. These inns would have stables for teams of horses, replacing tired teams with fresh teams and allowing stagecoaches, which were covered wagons generally drawn by 4 horses, and mail coaches to rapidly cover long distances. Food and drink would have been served to passengers travelling on the coaches, and there was stiff competition between the various different inns.
Parish Church in Otley was built in Norman times and then extended in the 14th and 18th centuries, but inside there are artefacts that date back to the 7th century, including some Saxon crosses. But the most interesting things are outside of the church. If you saw my film about Bramhope, you may recognise this as a replica of the north portal entrance to the Bramhope Tunnel, and this is a memorial to the 23 men who died whilst the tunnel was being built. John Wesley, who was the founder of the Methodist Church, was a frequent visitor to Otley through the 18th century, and on one such visit his horse died. Now it's said that the horse is buried in this graveyard, and legend has it that the horse is buried under a rather unusual tombstone called the Donkey Stone. Now we can't find the Donkey Stone, so if you know where it is, please send us a tweet at Made in Leeds and let us know. We'd really love to hear from you. Otley was built up as a market town, and there are still markets here every Tuesday, Friday and Saturday, keeping the tradition going but with a modern twist. And this place is literally covered in history, with many plaques around the town evidencing its past. But these days Otley is well and truly within the present. This is Jonathan Straight for The Lowdown.